Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of the CB350 project. Today is going to be pretty straightforward. I'm going to strip the bike down, get everything off of it, put it in a neat pile, and I'll also show you what I've found in the engine. I disassembled it. It was not easy because the engine was locked up. Getting all the camshaft and timing components out of there was a little bit tricky, but we got it and figured out, what was causing it to be seized. So my plan with that is actually for this bike is to get a chassis that I'm really happy about. Build it in the cafe or scrambler style that I'm thinking, and then I'll work on the engine, getting that back together, and then getting it back in the bike and getting it running. So that's my goal, is to make this the chassis kind of be what I want. And then we'll worry about the engine later, because the engine will just drop in and get running. So, but I am worried about getting the frame the way I want it. So this is going to include stripping it down, and the frame will get powder coated, and I'll clean up as much of the stuff I want to keep, and then get rid of the stuff that I'm not going to keep, things that are going to come off, and then go from there. So anyways, I got the camera on my head and you're on the bench, and I have a fan cooling the camera on the bench because it's been overheating, this new GoPro. These things apparently don't like taking 4K video. I'll start stacking it up and then we'll show you the engine. All right, here we go. Let's see, I'm gonna need 10, 12, so I'll use this one, the handy impact. And we're gonna start at the rear and work our way up.
Most of this work is pretty straightforward. This is a lot of just unbolting stuff and bagging it up, based on the area or the thing that you're taking apart, i.e. suspension, rear trailing arm, front forks, electrical, kind of just putting it all in one little box or baggie or something to categorize it. Pretty straightforward, and the wiring is actually really, you know, compact, I guess I would say. Japanese motorcycle companies at this time were doing a lot of the same thing, and once you've worked on one or two of these Hondas, you've kind of worked on them all. So the wiring is very similar in these models, if not the same, in terms of colors and packaging. So you really know what to expect if you've touched it before. The first time you crack open a headlight case and see all the wires pop up, it's going to be a little bit intimidating, but don't worry, it's pretty straightforward. If you grab yourself a manual, they have really awesome wiring diagrams in there, and it's pretty straightforward to read. So even just a little bit of skill with or knowledge of wiring, you will be able to figure it out pretty quick. So, but try to keep everything as organized and bagged up in individual groups as you can. This will help you in the process of putting it back together. So, but yeah, as we get going, you'll just see me pulling a lot of wires, removing all the hardware possible, kickstand, the wheels, anything that needs to come off. So a pretty straightforward process, but definitely lots of labor involved. Alright, so we're getting to the end of disassembling the chassis. Just working on the stem, the fork stem bearing, and getting the front forks off the frame there. So the next thing I'm going to show you guys, and I'll fast forward through the first part, just getting the cover off here. But I'll show you guys what I found in the engine and kind of go over some of the complications of getting it out. Realistically, having the engine seized up made it really difficult with the cam and the timing components, because you need to be able to move them back and forth to get them out through their proprietary system of keyed holes on the cam gear and stuff like that. So lots of complexity here. It definitely won't show you the full long process, but just know that it was a pain in the butt, and I'm glad it's off now.
there is... All right, wow. That cylinder that was pretty nasty is pretty nasty. Based on this side's not too bad. However, I already see some issues. So, yep, those are some valve slaps on that one. Some pretty bad ones, if I'm not mistaken. However, the cylinder wall looks really good. Here we have, you can see why this thing is stuck. That cylinder wall is completely filled with rust. It is mated itself to that piston. If I am being honest, that's what's going on in there. Funny, the crappier one doesn't have any valve marks on it. So I think what I'm gonna do, because I'm probably gonna end up replacing the pistons and all that just based on the look, I'm gonna probably try to knock this free, which if you were trying to save the pistons, I wouldn't do that. But in this case, I think, let me try to find something a little sturdier. I might just, there it is. Yeah, I just looked up online, the kits to replace the pistons and stuff are not that expensive, so look at that. Hey, now it's moving. Find neutral, shall we? So, hindsight 2020, I mean, the pistons don't look terrible. I mean, that one has an obvious mark in it, but I mean, if the valves are okay, which that other one looked pretty bad, so I'll probably replace the cylinder. I'll just work on the cylinder head. I might throw it back together and see what we got for compression, you know, but that'll be later determination. All right, let's see if I can get this thing to shift. Still. All right, all the way. Oh my goodness. Would you look at that? We're gonna take this off and we're gonna try to get this so that I can clean that cylinder bore. Shouldn't be too bad. Definitely wish I had a engine stand for this. Huh. Yeah, it all seems to be. Once I get this piston bore cleaned out, I might have enough confidence to put it back together. I know you may be thinking, how is he keeping track of all these bolts? I have been kind of putting stuff back where they go if I can, and then otherwise I know roughly which stuff goes where, and a lot of the sizes are similar in some ways. And like I've said in the past, if all else fails, there's a lot of really good parts diagrams online, so if you get really stuck, you can usually find a parts diagram. You can also use, you know, a depth caliper and test the depth of the bolts, and then you just need to determine the length. So not too bad if you need to do that method as well. All right, let's try now. Probably the piston ring's stuck on that piston. Bet it is, yeah. Guess I should have. It's probably almost off now. It's just gotta get over that piston ring. It's this one right here, I bet. Yep, there it is. Once it let go of the piston ring. Whew, all right. And what we're left with is all this. So he said he replaced a lot of this, but that stuff looks to be as old as the bike. Look how beat up that is. So I'll have to replace that. Pistons otherwise look fine. The rings are Still in place. This one is in rough shape. I'm not gonna lie to you. So this one here I'll probably end up replacing. Those rings are completely seized in place. I feel good with where it is right now. Yeah, I do not believe the cam chain was replaced, but it's cute that that guy said it was. Alright, so here we have a collection of all of the parts, and I got a lot of labeled, organized hardware down here, and some gaskets for when the engine goes back together. Yeah, most everything is here. The engine is disassembled, as I showed you in the video, to this degree here. Might be more disassembly to come. So yeah, now we know why the bike wasn't wasn't cranking, wasn't starting. It seems like this bike's history. It sounds like it had an issue where it wasn't running, and it might have been timing related. The previous owner replaced the timing components, or said he did, cleaned some carburetors up, tried to get it running. My guess is, based on how much rust was on the left side of the engine there, inside the cylinder and on the piston, this bike, where I picked it up from, the guy said he had it for a while. It was in an old kind of barn. My guess is that moisture got into the cylinder, like when it was apart at some point, because he said he had it apart for a while, tried to do the cam and timing components, and I'm wondering if he did the he did valve work. As I say, he did cylinder head work, and he said the cam and timing work was done, but I don't think that was true. He did some cylinder head work, and I think what happened was is when he had the cylinder head off, either moisture got into the cylinder well, or he put, left the spark plug out or something like that, and moisture, water got in, and it completely seized up to the piston. So I think that's what happened to this engine. That's just conjecture at this point, but it's a pretty good theory. So really pretty standard for a bike that's been sitting for a long time, especially in a not watertight barn. So that can happen. So something to keep your mind on when you're buying one of these bikes, if it's sitting in a place that looks like it's been not protected from the elements. So anyways, we know what's going on with the engine. The next part of this project is really going to be working on the chassis. I want to get the chassis like in a really good spot where it's, I don't know what I would like to have for a chassis in this thing, which is undecided as of yet. Part of me is really committed to doing like a scrambler build, something that's super lightweight that I might just keep and use for myself, to take as an alternative to my V-Strom off on little dirt roads and class 4 roads and stuff like that. The other half of me is torn between doing a cafe racer. My dad had a similar 72 or 74 CB350 back in the day. It was like the same color tank and everything. So part of me would love to do that, make a little cafe bike, take my own swing at it. I've done a couple of like cafe mod type bikes, but never really gone down to frame on one. So this might be a good opportunity to do that. The cool thing with cafe racer bikes is you just get to strip a bunch of stuff you don't need off, and then kind of, it's your canvas. You can make it whatever you'd like. You can kind of strip down the frame, or, like at least simplify the frame, simplify the wiring, do pod filters, like it just kind of remove a bunch of stuff you normally wouldn't want to on a bike that you rely on for, functionality. So there's part of that that's exciting for me, similar to like kind of the track bike thing. You build the track bike with less things on it than you would on the street. For example. So anyways, that's what I'm thinking. I'm leaning heavily on the scrambler side, but I could be convinced to do cafe. What do you guys think? What makes the most sense for this bike? What makes the most sense for me, but also for the long term when I decide that I might be bored with this? Is this something I can sell? I know when you modify bikes, especially cafe, scrambler, any of that stuff, the value of the bike goes down inherently because nobody really wants to buy someone else's project. Some people do. It's impossible. It just makes it harder, and you definitely will not get your money back when you start spending money on parts like that. So anyways, let me know in the comments what direction you think we should go. Otherwise, stay tuned for episode 3 and more to come. I'm really hoping to spend a lot of time on this thing this winter. Once the winter blues kick in, this will be a great way to beat those. So all right, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if this is the kind of content you like.